I organize Trendy English events, conferences, and events for English teachers and heads of language schools. And maybe you've already been to our conferences. Can you say yes or put a plus if you have already attended any of Trendy English events? Okay, that's great. Okay, and also I'm the head of StudyCraft. StudyCraft is a company which designs games for English lessons, for English classes, and for English teachers and for students who study English. And we run different webinars and online and offline workshops for teachers where we talk about how to use games. Okay. Well, I just wonder if there is anybody here today who has already been to my workshops. How to gamify your English class. Okay. So if you attended my 2 day workshops, that means that you might have already heard many of the things I'm going to talk about today. But anyway, well, if you revise something once again, I think it'll do good. Okay, so today we are going to talk about games in our English lessons, and very many people today think, very many English teachers today think that fun maybe is not really appropriate for English lessons. But if you are here, I think that you don't support this point of view, and you believe that games and game-like activities are very useful for our English lessons. Okay. Usually when we work with young students, with young learners, very young learners, all our lessons, well, the whole lesson is just like one game, or it's like a series of games which go one after another. But as soon as we go from primary school to secondary school, for some reason, we think that now it's high time for serious studies, and maybe games are not so important anymore, and now we have to do something serious. So students are very well, they are old enough to do some serious stuff. Okay, do you agree with this point of view, that games are only for primary students? No. Yeah, not really. Okay. But anyway, when I ask my colleagues, so why don't, well, you teach teens or you teach adults, why don't you play all the time? Very often I have these answers. Okay, we don't have time for playing games, or our students are too big to play games, they don't want to play games anymore. But, well, I don't really agree with the fact that with the age, people stop loving games. I have found this picture somewhere on the internet, and I really like it. It shows the way we look when we study something which is not very interesting for us, but which we have to study, and another picture which shows what we look like when we play games or when we do something which we are really involved in. Okay, so why does it happen? Okay, just a sec. There is one more request for a link, and again, it's to my own email box. Okay, it's done. Okay, so I think that it all very closely connected with the emotions. And we know that we mentally, well, we can't control our emotions. Our emotions, it's something very ancient, and well, actually emotions, they helped us to survive in prehistoric times. And limbic system, which developed when humans only appeared, well, the limbic system, it controls emotions. And if we have a look at emotional energy matrix, we will see that we can perform something, that we can create something, that we can study, that we can memorize something, only when we are in this green zone, performance zone. And if when our energy is at high level, and so we stay positive. So if our energy is at low level, and if we experience negative emotions, we are in burnout zone. So actually, in our lessons, we want our students to be in performance zone, because we want them to be active and to be creative, and we want them actually to work. And what emotions do students experience in these zones? Okay, if you are in performance zone, that means that you are excited. And if you are in burnout zone, that means that you are sad and bored. And we all know that if there are no games in our lessons, our lessons can be boring. Well, I don't say that games are it is the only way to lighten up your lesson. There are many teachers who use other techniques. But well, I like using games, and for me, well, to put my students from to level up their energy and to bring them from burnout zone to performance zone, for me that means that we play games, and with the help of the games, I solve my my teachers' goals. Okay. Actually, there is Nicole Lazara. This is a lady who works for the company which helps game designers to design games and to understand what kind of games and what game mechanics involve people into playing games. And she developed the theory of fun, and in her theory she says that there are actually 4 types of fun. Easy fun, people's fun, hard fun, and serious fun. And different people at different stages, they prefer different types of fun. And when teachers say that fun is not always appropriate for the lesson, maybe they bear in mind and they consider only easy fun and people fun, and which it's all about like doing silly scenes and maybe watching some funny pictures, and that means that we don't really work. So what's easy fun? Easy fun when we get excited because we explore something new. That means that we are excited because we want to know what is going to happen next, but it doesn't mean that our brains really work hard. Another type of fun, which is people fun. This type of fun means that we like being with people. We like doing some activities with this particular group of people, the people who we trust. And maybe, well, we don't like this activity, but we like these people, and if we do it with these people, so, well, we really enjoy it. So in our English lessons, it is very easy to introduce these 2 types of fun, easy fun and people fun, because we work with a group of people, and if you, in the beginning of the academic year, if you had a lot of different team building activities, you work with a group in which every person respects one another, and they don't feel that they can be offended in the group, and they are ready to play with these people, and they are ready to perform different actions in front of these people. And of course, students, children and teens, they are always curious about something new, and they don't really want to work using their course book. In autumn, we talked to the students in our language school, Level Next, and we asked them about the way they want their lessons to be run. And one of the points was that we don't want to use course books. We are ready to do anything else, but course books are boring. So this is the idea which our students have in their mind. Okay, and if we ask our students to open their course books and to have a look at exercise number 1, you will see very unhappy faces. Okay, do your students like using course books? Do your students like doing exercises from their course books? No, not really. Some of them. Okay. But well, I've got this feeling that students are ready to do anything apart from working from a course book. But well, we can cheat actually, and we can turn these boring exercises from a course book into a game-like activity. We are not going to talk about games and what is the difference between a game and game-like activity today, because well, this is the topic of another maybe webinar, of another workshop. But today let's just try to brainstorm and to gather some ideas. So how can we make our course book more interesting, and how can we involve our students? They like to play at the end of the lesson. Okay, yeah, this is the thing that very many teachers say. Okay, we use games, but we play in the beginning of the lesson as an energizer, as a warming up activity, or we play in the end of the lesson, at the end of the lesson, to activate some vocabulary or as a reward. But what if we try to play a little bit more often? Because well, what is the idea of the teachers? Very often we say, okay, I can't play I can't play games all the time, because I've got my curriculum and I've got my textbook and I've got to cover this material. But it doesn't actually mean that we have to do all the exercises just in the way they are presented in the course book. We can have a look at these exercises and try to put them into and try to transform it into a game. Games are too noisy, but well, students, well, children, they are alive, and it's okay if it's a little bit noisy in the classroom. If it is productive noise, well, actually, as for me, I don't mind if it is noisy in the classroom. And I don't think, well, if it is noisy just because your students are shouting out and they do the things that they want to do, but not the things that you want them to do, maybe then this is a kind of a problem. It's like some kind of discipline problem. But if you are noisy because you not our head teacher, yeah, maybe you will have to explain it to your head teacher. And of course, not all parents support this idea of a noisy classroom. Sometimes when, well, I understand that some parents of my students, they can be outside the classroom and they can listen all this noise, and maybe they won't be so happy. But if you explain them that you were playing the noise, it was because of a game you played, and it wasn't a game just for easy fun, and it wasn't a game just for the sake of the fun, but you can explain what kind of material it helped you to dream, then they will be on your side. Okay, so what about all these exercises? What can we do with them? Some time ago, well, a few years ago, in StudyCraft, we decided, so we put all the exercises. So on one sticker, we wrote type of an exercise, and under this post-it note, so we put down other post-it notes saying what kind of a game, what kind of activity can be used instead of this exercise. Well, actually, if we have a look, at our course book, we will see, well, that all the exercises are pretty much the same. Yes, we know that when we start a unit, when we start a unit, and when we start a vocabulary lesson, so usually what is the first stage? new words, yes, and so you introduce new, probably you introduce your new words. Okay, and here, if you have a look at this page, you will see that the first exercise is make pictures with the words. So this is the way the authors of this course book offer us to introduce new vocabulary. Okay, so what can we do instead of doing this particular exercise? Of course, we can work using this course book, and we can just do this exercise, and students have a look at the pictures here on this page, and they have a look at the words in the box, and they try to match. But what else can we do? And if you've been already to my workshops or webinars, maybe you will come up with some ideas. Okay, do you have any ideas? What kind of a game can be used? What game, which is also very popular with many teachers, can be used instead of this exercise? Any ideas? Puzzles, puzzle, puzzle, what do you mean? Double, mind maps, miming words, so you've got some ideas. Okay, what I like to use is a memory game. Yeah? And you all know what is memory or means when you have to find a matching pair. Yeah. So what I do, I just print out these pictures and use them as flashcards, and I print out the words from the box and use them as word cards, and I put all these pictures face down, and students have to open up and to find a corresponding pair. Let me show you. Oops, no, this is the wrong one. This is the wrong video.
What is it? Yes, camping. Very good memory. Good memory. Yeah, very good. Okay, Антон?
Что-то компьютер геймс,
Don't. Computer games? No. Gymnastics. Оля?
Computer games. Computer games.
Yeah, well, Lyudmila says, Елена says that it's too time consuming for a teacher. Yes, of course it is too time consuming, but have a look at the faces of your students and have a look at the faces of my students. They are really involved in the process, and when something is emotionally charged, if you are working at a high energy level and you are working with positive emotions, so the outcomes of this learning, they will stay longer with you, and they will last longer. And if you just do an exercise from a course book, that means that, well, we just do this exercise, and, well, I don't know if my students will remember it or not. Okay, thank you, Ekaterina. Okay, she gives us a hint and a tip how can we make our life easier. Yeah, and there is, if we can make this game, you just using a resource. Thanks a lot. Okay, so what else can we do? We can just vote with the same flashcards and word cards. I show students a flashcard, and students, they've got sets of word cards for these flashcards, and they vote with the word which they think is the correct for this particular picture. Oh yes, of course we can use it not only for presentation, but we can use it and for vision, and we can use it just to practice the new vocabulary. In one of our games, StudyCraft makes big games which are used instead of the whole units. And in this game, Ingrid, where we work with daily life vocabulary, the new words are presented in the following way. We divide our students into two teams, and I put on the table flashcards and word cards, and then I read a definition. So students don't know these words. At this time, these words are new. So, but they have word cards and flashcards on the table in front of them. I read a definition of a word, and the team tries to guess which flashcard and which word card it is. And if they are lucky and they match the correct pair, I give them 2 points. If they can't come up with the answer, it's another team's turn to work with the same definition. And if they are lucky, they get just 1 point because it wasn't their question. And then I ask the second team a question, I give them a definition, and again, if they give a correct answer, if they can find a corresponding word card and flashcard, they can get 2 points. If they fail, okay, the first team tries again with the same definition. And then I leave these word cards and flashcards somewhere on the table or on the blackboard to use it as a reference for our follow-up activities. It's kind of a picture dictionary, which is always in front of the eyes. Okay, so what else can we do? If you yeah, for secondary school, too difficult for primary students. Well, actually, my focus is teens, low secondary school, and secondary school, because in primary school, another type of games work, and well, actually, when you work with young learners, you don't need games, you need plays or play. I mean, well, not a game, you need a play, because they are not mature enough to work out strategy and to follow the game. But well, I'm more interested in teens and low secondary school students, because if you have a look at all the resources which are available for teachers, we've got lots of resources for primary school and not so many for secondary school, because everybody thinks that if you are in a secondary school, that means that you are old enough, you are clever enough, and you are ready to work like this or without any games, because you know what you want. But well, actually, if you are a teenager, you still don't know what you want, and you want to play, the only thing that you want is to play games and to have fun, because this is what you do when you are not at school. When you are at home, you play games. And if you are an adult, what you do when you are not at work? Well, we are teachers, we don't have free time, but well, other people, usually they've got their free time, and I have a lot of friends who spend their time playing computer games, video games, or board games with their friends. And actually, adults spend about 22 hours a week playing games. It's like a good part-time job. So it's and perhaps teachers, well, we are the only category which don't play games because we don't have time for them. Okay, it's just sorry. Let's get back to our topic. So what else can we do? Let me show you one more activity which I like using with my students.
Camping. Cut, camping.
No, not this. Okay, this one actually.
Go camping and go camping.
That's right. Internet.
I have internet.
Yes, you have, but that's wrong. One more. Okay, you put your students
Can you see
in
anything
front
or
of
there is
you.
something wrong
They
with
form a
the video?
line, and you go 5 steps back. You show the first flashcard to the first student and start. Camping.
Go camping and go camping.
That's right. Internet.
I have internet.
Yes, you have, but that's wrong. One more cruel game.
Okay, I will stop here so you could get the idea. So the thing is that, well, the teacher has got, or it can be another student who has got pictures, flashcards with new vocabulary, and he has a kind of a bat in his hand. And you say, okay, I show you a picture and I start coming up to you, and you have like 3 steps to come up with the correct answer, and if you don't come up with this correct answer, you'll be hit with the bat. Okay, a lot of fun. It's like easy fun again, and actually this is just the same exercise as we've got in our course book, match a word and a flashcard, or you can start making giving a definition and you come up with a bat to the student, or you can make up a sentence and show where the gap is. Like, for example, I very early every morning, and you start coming up to a student, and if he comes up with the word I get up early every time very early in the morning, you don't hit the student with a bat. But if he or she doesn't come up with this expression, he gets hit. Okay, my point here is that just have a look at your course book, not as the Bible you have to follow, but as just a list of activities you have to do during the lesson, or maybe just as a help, and transform every exercise into a game-like activity. Another exercise, it is here number 2, listen and repeat. Yes, we all want our students to try and to pronounce the word. We want our students at the very first stage to pronounce the words. Okay, this is one of the variants how we can do it. This is one option how we can do it.
Camping.
Skiing.
Skiing. Camping. Skiing. Skiing.
Drawing.
Drawing.
So the teacher says a word, and the student then and gives a flashcard to a student. The student repeats this word and passes it to the next student between his legs. The next student takes this flashcard, repeats the words again, and passes it to the next student over his head. So we call this game in StudyCraft laser game, because again in this game Ingrid, we use it when we try to enter Ingrid's laboratory secretly, and it is there are laser rays everywhere, and we don't want to touch these laser rays. Okay. What else can we do with the vocabulary? What are the variants? What are the options do we have? When we work with the spelling, we can try different types of running dictations. Instead of instead of doing spelling exercises from the workbook or from the course book. Okay, let me show you.
Okay, how can we turn the activity, unscramble the word, into a game? Well, I have got one idea. So you print out the words from your unscramble the words exercise on a separate pieces of paper and stick them everywhere around the classroom. Then you divide your group into pairs, and each pair of students gets one piece of paper and a pen. In their pairs, they have to decide who is going to be a writer and who is going to be a runner. So you say ready, steady, go, and the runner starts running around the classroom looking for the words on the walls. He can't take them back. He can just have a look at the word, guess what is this word about, so unscramble the word, and he gets back to his partner and dictates him the word. His partner, who is the writer, writes down the word. We can set a limit of, for example, 5 words. When the first pair is ready with any 5 words, they just cry out, "We are ready." We stop the game. Look at the word. How I am dictating. Katya and Kirill. So Kirill is going to run, Katya is going to run. In your pair, who's going? Okay, Anton is going to run. Kirill is going to run, I think, yeah. Oh.
Does the video, was it working? Could anybody see the video? No. Okay, that's strange because usually it works perfectly well on this platform. Okay, okay, some people could. Okay, so actually all these videos are stored on a YouTube channel, which you can find very easily. Okay, I'll give a link. Well, actually, it is just my name, Елена Пересада. And just a sec, I will give you a link for this channel. I'm sorry, I don't know why not all of you could see it. Okay, you can try this link. Okay, and you can always find me online on Facebook or Contact or Instagram, and and anyway, after the webinar, I'm going to send you all the materials and I will give you all the links. Sorry, I don't know what happened and why some of people couldn't see these links. Well, actually, well, if you go to this YouTube channel, you can find a number of other videos. We know how to use different games instead of course book activities. And I want to share a couple of other ideas which I like to use with my students when we work with the vocabulary. They are taken from our game Mud Monsters. Well, this game is the language of the game is household chores, and we work with present simple and household chores vocabulary. So the first activity, you put flashcards on the table face down, and you take a dice. And you throw the dice. Well, actually, and the students, they need to try and to memorize which. So first of all, you open your flashcards and you put them on the table. Then you turn them face down, and students, they try to memorize where all these flashcards are. And then you throw the dice for the first student. Okay, if it says 4, that means that the student has to open to point to 4 flashcards and say what were the words on these cards, or to make up sentences with the words on these cards. And if he is lucky, he will get these 4 points. Okay, then he throws the dice for the next student, and for example, it says 5. The next student, he has to open up to try and to say something about 5 other flashcards. And when we check if he was right, then he can get these 5 points. Well, my students, they love this activity, and so we play a few rounds like this. First of all, we just revise the words, Then I use the same activity when I want them to make true sentences about themselves using these words. Then I can ask them to make true sentences about their parents, about their friends, about their group mates, and we still use the same mechanic. They like throwing dice for another person because that means, well, they have a feeling that they somehow influence the result of the other people, of the other person. Okay, another activity which I like, when you put down flashcards like this and then you throw beans, or I just use tokens. You take a bunch of tokens and you throw them on the flashcards, and the next person has to name all the flashcards, or to make up sentences with all the flashcards where these tokens are. And well, it again depends. Well, it doesn't. When you make up your sentences, well, you have to make them correctly, and if you make a mistake, you don't get the points. Okay, my students love it. Low secondary school or low secondary teens, they really love this type of activities. Okay, further, I've shown a lot of times during my webinars this basketball game, when you put flashcards with active vocabulary on the floor and you start working along these flashcards line, making up true sentences about yourself, or making up true sentences about your family, or maybe these flashcards are not about, if they don't show vocabulary items, you can put ABC or numbers, well, any language. You can put any language on these flashcards. Well, but the point of this activity is to score the ball. You see, the lady, she's got a ball in her hands, and when she makes a mistake, she stops at this point and she throws this ball into the basket, which is at the end of the line. And if she's lucky enough and she can score a ball, she gets a point. Okay, so of course, the better you know the words, it's better to know all the words, because the closer you are to the baskets, so more opportunities you've got to score the ball. Again, my students, they just love this activity, and they have to play it in different variations. Just to revise the vocabulary, to practice the vocabulary, to work with letters, to work with numbers, and all different types of language. Okay, any questions so far? Any comments? Okay, then let's move on. Sometimes it's enough just to add some kind of setting to the activity that you want to do with your students. It's not necessary all the time to look for a game from the internet, or to think about how I can transform this activity into a real game. Very often setting is more than enough. Maybe you know this game when students sit on the chairs, and the teacher is inside the circle. So I use this activity to practice, well, grammar general questions. For example, we practice past simple general questions. Did you sleep last night? Did you go to the cinema last night? Did you clean your teeth yesterday? Okay, I ask a question. Did you have breakfast yesterday? And all the people who had breakfast yesterday, they have to get to stand up and swap chairs. And at this moment, I just put one chair away. That means that one of the students can't find a chair to sit on, and he stays. Now it's his turn. It's not my teacher's turn. I just stay aside, and this student, he starts asking questions. And when he asks a question, for example, did you watch TV last night? And maybe not so many people really watched TV, and maybe only one person will stand up, or two people. Well, it is very important to ask questions so that all the people could give the answer yes. And this student, he has a chance to sit back and to have another person who will be standing in front of the class asking questions. Well, I like adding some kind of flavor to this game, and I put these toilet seats on the chairs, and we play this game as if we are in a toilet, and these are not chairs, these are toilets, and students just, they really love it. You know, it's kind of an easy fun, kind of curiosity, something unexpected, something that students didn't expect. Okay, so we call this game Toilet Game, and it is presented in our big box Haunted House. Okay, how can we work with grammar exercises? So in our workbooks, in our course book, we've got this list of grammar sentences or gap-filling sentences where we have to open the brackets and to put the verb into the correct form. So what I do with my students, so they do this exercise, then we play tap game with them. I draw on the blackboard a tap, and I say, okay, can you see it? And I draw a few lines. And if one of the students make a mistake, I say that the water is at this level, and the water is up to your ankles. If one more students make a mistake, the water is at your knees. If another student makes a mistake, the water is higher and higher and higher, and nobody wants to get drowned. When they make a mistake, when the first students make a mistake, they start thinking very carefully, and they start following these exercises. When you just check this exercise, not in a chain, but like in this teacher-student mode, yes, you ask students to give a correct answer. So usually they just wait for being asked, and they don't follow the exercise. But this is a good idea to make them focused on the exercise. And what else I do? I always say, okay, if you make a mistake, one student, any student from the group, but only one, can have a try and correct you. And if the correction is okay, then the water level doesn't go up. But if the student failed to correct you, well, the water level goes up. So you can use, I don't know, tornadoes, you can use sharks. This mechanic is called loss aversion, when you want to escape something bad. And the emotions are not really positive, they are kind of negative when you play games like this, but they work very well, and they are very effective. So one more idea how to check your homework. So it didn't take me too long to prepare this activity. You see, I just made a grid on a piece of paper, and I wrote numbers from 1 to 5. These numbers, they show the number of points a student can get. And if you can see these purple bombs, if you open this bomb, that means that all your points are blown up, and so you lose all your points. You can see these strips of paper. Actually, I took this grammar exercise from the workbook, and I photocopied it, and I just cut all the sentences, and I had a strip with each sentence, and I folded it like this, and I put it on the squares with the numbers or with the bombs. And this is how we check our homework. Once students come up, the first students take any of these folded strips of paper. When he lifts it up, he can see whether it is a bomb or how much or how many points he can get. Or maybe the strip of paper is on a blank square and he won't get any points for it. Then he unfolds the strip of paper, and well, he reads the correct variant of the sentence, filling in the gap in this sentence. Okay, believe me, it's much funnier than just checking exercises, asking each student, okay, Sergey, sentence number 2, further sentence number 3, and so on. Okay, students are really involved in this activity. So what else can we do? I like this film, Starship Troopers. I don't know if you watched it or not. It's a very old one. It's very, very stupid, but it is well done. Okay, and it's about a war between humans and aliens, who aliens, are they alive or not, look like big bugs, and they kill people with the help of their legs. And so I use this idea for a vision. I tell my students that we are now at this box planet, and our table, which is in the middle of the classroom, this is a spaceship. And to get to the spaceship and to fly away, we have to follow a special route. And in the classroom, in different parts of the classroom, I put down worksheets with grammar exercises I want to revise. But like at each station, I have no more than 5 sentences for each student. And students, they have to come up to the first station, do these exercises, and then I check them very quickly. That's why only 5 sentences. And if everything is okay, this student can run to the next station. But if it is not okay, I take, okay, I haven't prepared it, I take a red post-it note and stick it to the student. That means that the student was hurt by this bug. Well, of course, it's a little bit stressful for a teacher, this type of activity, because you have to run very quickly and to check lots of exercises. But well, it's okay to be to be fit. And well, I don't have very big groups. Well, I usually have like 5 or 6 students in my group. That's why I can do activity like this. And then all my students, they get back to the spaceship when they get back to the spaceship, and we've got one student, the cleverest one, the smartest one, who is a doctor. He helps to correct the sentences in which this or that student made their mistakes, and that means that he cures these people and takes these stickers away from the student. Okay, and well, when we do this activity, I turn on the music from this film, which is very epic and which helps students to go into this setting and to believe that they are really fighting with bugs. Well, I used this activity with very big students, like 15, 16 year old, and they really loved it. Okay, any questions, any comments so far? Is it clear? Was it clear how to do this activity? Okay, thank you. What else? I really love working with as we call it in StudyCraft, with caves, and I use it with all groups. Starting with 9 or 10. When my students turn 9 or 10 year old, well, I start using this technique. We call them caves, or we can call them doors. So all exercises from the workbook are divided into 3 categories: something very easy, something very difficult, and they can look like this. I ask my students to choose what type of exercise do they want to do. If they want to do an easy exercise, they will get only 1 point. If they want to do a difficult exercise, a more difficult exercise, they can get 2 points, or they can get 3 points if it is the most difficult exercise. Only two people can go to do one exercise, and students have to decide on the difficulty of the exercise they want to choose and who they want to do this exercise, because only one in this pair will be the winner and will get all the points. This will be the person with the who could make more correct exercises than more correct sentences in this exercise than his partner. So you go, for example, and do this gap filling exercise, and one student could cope with 3 sentences, another could cope with 2 sentences. So the winner is the person who could do 3 sentences, and he gets all the points indicated on the door which they entered. Okay, usually I give like a minute and a half for my students to do these exercises, and then I give them keys and they check, and then we discuss the results. I give them points, and we start this activity once again, because the purpose of this activity is to go a few rounds, so that students could get a chance to return to the same type of exercise again and again, and to think about his or her mistakes and to recycle. I think I've got a video with which will illustrate this activity.
Put your piece on the task which you want to try. Yes, and not only in pair. So it doesn't matter how many people go to one task. So, Vanya, Anton, Katya goes here, Kirill. Have 5 minutes. Okay, so boys decided to try the most difficult task, and Katya, the girl, she decided to try less difficult task. Okay, now we use Are you ready?
Yes. Yes.
But we still have some time and we wait for Katya. No, you don't mix them up. You just out of each column you take one word which is not correct. So in this column, which word was not correct? Okay, guys, your time is up. Now let's see if let's go to this one. So, yoga, gymnastics, where did you put the ball? Where will you go? Again? Okay. You will work with Katya.
Okay, I'll stop here. So I put the link into the chat for this particular video, but again, it's on my YouTube channel, Елена Пересада. You can just go there and you will find all the videos which I showed you, which I have shown you today. Okay, so let's keep something because we are running out of time. Another type of fun, it is called serious fun, and very often people play games because in the game they feel that they are heroes. They feel better than they are in everyday life, and it is very important to give this feeling, this epic meaning to our students. And for example, when I revise the vocabulary in the end of the lesson, I can tell my students that we are not just revising the vocabulary. It's not my test. I'm not just checking what they remember, but we protect our Earth from aliens. And as well, we all have mixed ability classes, and I know that in my group there are students who are better at English than well, somebody is better than the others, and so I tell my students that, well, to protect the earth from aliens, we need 3 shields, and I give 3 different types of test tasks. To the weaker students, I give something very easy, and to stronger students, I give something which is a little bit more difficult to do, and when they fulfill, when they do these tasks, okay, we build this shield around our Earth, and our Earth is protected from the aliens, and now we can live happily. Okay. So, and one more type of fun, which is not very often used in our lessons, it is hard fun. Well, actually, a lot of people, a lot of adults and teens, they are kind of adults. They like doing things which require strategy, and teenagers and adults, sometimes they don't play our games because these games are based on pure luck. And when you are 9 and older, you understand that it doesn't matter how well you throw the dice. Wow, how well, it's just pure luck. And if you are older than 9, you want to work out some kind of strategy to win in the game. To practice grammar, we made a few grammar games which practice general questions and what does he like, what does she like question. And these games, they are based on quarters mechanic, and in this game you have to ask questions, and you have to think, who am I going to ask this question? And you have to memorize the answer of other students to win in the game. So nothing depends on pure luck. So I will give you an example of one of the, I will demonstrate it only one game, like Lost Pets. It's like the easiest one to demonstrate the mechanic. So we've got children whose pets were stolen. And we know, our goal is to return pets to their owners. We know that pets and their owners, they look very much the same. And we've got the descriptions of the children. Like Bill, his eyes are big, and there are 4 cards of each person. Bill, his eyes are big, his hair is short, his hair is dark, and he's fat, for example. So all the students, they've got cards, and the purpose of the game is to collect a set of cards with the same name, to find out all Bill cards. And how can you find these cards? You ask anybody in the group, what does Bill look like? And if the person you are asking has got this card, he gives it to you. And you go on asking like this. Okay, I will show you a video to make it easier to understand.
Do you look like? She's sing. Vera. Do you look like? Your hair is long. Your hair is dark. Your eyes is small. She's thin. Your hair is long.
Okay, you can find these games at our website, StudyCraft.ru.org. Yeah, I know that there are many people who have already played these games, and they say, yeah, thanks Anastasia for saying that it's a good game. And these games are available at you can buy them on our website, or you can well, come to Trendy English Games conference in August, and these games will be available there as well as some new games which we are working on. Okay, and once again, this is the name of my YouTube channel, just Елена Пересада. So you can use it YouTube, Елена Пересада, and you will find all these videos on this YouTube channel. Okay, a little bit more. What is the name of this nice game? Lost Pets. Because the pets were lost and we have to bring them back. We've got also superheroes to practice past simple. Four strange things happened at Manhattan, and we have to find out which superheroes could be guilty. And so we ask, did Human Torch fry meat last Monday, or did Superman fly to New York last Saturday? So we collect sets of superhero cards, and then we decide whether it was the person who caused these problems or not. Also, we've got Cyborg's game. It's about to practice general questions in present simple, and Agents on Holidays to practice going to. Okay, so what else can we do to, for example, to replace comprehension questions after reading tasks? This is one of the ideas, the way you can do it. You've got some texts, students read them, and then you've got questions after the text. Yeah, and students don't really like reading these questions and answering them. But what can we do? You can take these questions and cut them into stripes like this. Okay, I'll show you a video. I've got a video with this activity. Okay, I think this one.
Okay, guys. You left the Mario game and you came to a dungeon, and Bowser is guarding this dungeon. You can see jail bars. Behind these bars there are fashion experts, so you want to save them. Okay, you can get to these experts only if you break these bars. Okay, look around. What else can you see in this dungeon?
Some accessories.
Some accessories. Okay, these are your accessories. And you can read some old manuscripts. Have a look at these old manuscripts, yes.
Oh, my favorite one. The oldest handbag.
Handbag. So, what is it about? Is it about a strange accessory that you found?
Yeah.
Yeah. So?
I have something about rabbits.
Rabbits. Okay, look at your strange accessories. Can you match? Okay, rabbits, USB, gloves.
Thinnest purse ever.
The thinnest purse ever.
This is it. Or I'm not sure. Maybe this.
Okay.
Brightest wallet.
The brightest
Black.
No, is here.
So what is it, Sasha?
Looks like earrings.
Earrings and a bracelet. Bacon, earrings and bracelet.
Most expensive shoes is here.
Most unusual necklace.
We don't have it.
We don't have it.
And most functional wallet. I think this is it.
Okay, how can you break these bars? You come to these bars, you try to break any of it, and if you can answer the question on these bars, so there is a hole. You can, but if you can't answer the question, you put it back. If you can't answer the question, you lose 1 point. Okay, if you answer the question correctly, you get 1 point. So where are your points? So by this time, yes, you've got some points. Okay. So, first of all, have a look. Maybe these manuscripts will help you somehow. Have a look at them. I will give you 3 minutes. Your time is up. Now let's go and try to break the first bar. Okay, Mira, you're the first one.
How big should be the hole?
Just this thing.
Just one bar.
Just one bar. Yeah, you're not very strong to to break 2 bars.
Why does every Lego wallet have extra bricks?
I know.
Because
Okay, I'll stop here because some people start writing that they can't see the video, but I think you could get the idea that to answer the question, a student rips off this strip of paper and reads the question, and if the answer is correct, he gets some points, but the answer is not correct, he loses some points, and put these questions at the same place so that maybe other people could remember where he put it, and if they know the correct answer, they could use it. And then when the round is over and all students had a try, they go and read this text once again, but this time, believe me, they read it much more carefully. And when they read it for the 3rd time, it's, this is the way to get them interested and to give them the goal, the aim of this reading. Because if you say, okay, we have to read this text and then to answer the question, they don't understand why. So you as a teacher, you want us to read, but we as students, as players, we don't want to do it. And this is a good idea how to get them involved into reading. Okay. Also, I use a lot of different codes which they have to decipher. If you have got a text where the task after the text is to say whether the statements are true or false. It can be a combination of TF sentences to open, which will be used as a password to open some other tasks, or maybe okay, I just started reading and I lost my idea. So it can be through a TF sequence as a password for the next task, or maybe for some surprise. Or if after the text you've got multiple choice questions, ABC, so the password for the next task, or the password for some kind of surprise for the teacher, it can be a correct sequence of ABC letters. Okay, so what about speaking? Very often we use different role plays to make our students to activate this or that vocabulary or grammar or functional language, and teens don't really like role plays. Because role plays, they lack very important components. They lack game, and all students, they like role play games, because in games there is the goal. They understand why they do it. Again, an activity which is taken from this Ingrid game. At the very end of the game, I want my students just to show that they can remember all active vocabulary, like 20 words on daily life. What we do with them? I tell them that they have to save this boy Tom, and I print out cards. You see, I print out this worksheet, and I cut them out and I fold them into like this. There is a sidebook on this side and there is a sidebook on this side, and for the last card there is a sidebook on this side and there is Tom on this side, and I put these cards on the table, and the goal of the game is to save Tom, to find where is Tom, and be very careful. You have to say, so this is, you know, well, all cybooks, they look like people, and that's why, well, it's very difficult to say whether it is a cyborg or a human being. That's why the picture of a cyborg, this is the only thing that we can see. And we start talking to the first cyborg student. The first student points to the first cyborg and says, okay, I want to interrogate him. And he starts asking these cyborg questions with active vocabulary. Do you get changed every day? Do you have a snack? And other students help. Do you skip school? Do you hang out with friends? And I, as a teacher, I play the role of this cyborg at this moment, and I know what is on the other side. I know if it is a cyborg or if it is a human being on the other side, and I give my answers according to the picture on the opposite side of this card. And after some time, students they have to tell me what they think, if it is a cyborg or if it is a human being. As they say, okay, if it is okay, we think it's a cyborg, I open up a card, and if it is a cyborg, they win. But they say it's a cyborg, I open up the card and it is a boy, that means that they were not lucky enough, they killed the boy and the game is over. But usually it's not happened, so students are clever enough. So this is a good idea to turn a speaking activity into a game, because if you ask your students, okay, talk to your partner and ask him about his day, teens won't do it. They don't think that it is interesting enough, and this is an option to make it more interesting. Shopping. Very often we role play shopping. So one person is a shop assistant, another is a customer, and they have to buy things. But this type of role plays, they are usually interesting only for people who are younger than 5 or 6 years old, because if they are older, they already go shopping, and role play is not interesting for them. They want a role play game. And so what we can do, you've got some things to sell, and again you fold these cards like this, and students can see only the item, and they don't know the color of this item, they don't know the price of this item, and they don't know the size. And each student gets a character card, and on this card he's got the information about his sizes, the money he has got, and the colors that he likes and the colors that he hates. And the goal of the game is to buy as many items of clothes as possible. So the winner is the person who can buy everything. This game will be available at our website and in the end of August, and also you will be able to buy it at Trendy English Games. Okay. And I really love role-play games. Role-play games, it's a good way to break language barrier and make our students speak. Well, actually, the first role-play game, Dungeons and Dragons, it appeared in 1974. Maybe you know, maybe there are people who play these types of games here in the chart. Okay, and how I use it with my students. I will show you. Let's imagine, so this is the language you have to practice. Down, out of, up, round, under, through, away, across, so just different prepositions. And I tell my students, okay, well, this is the last stage, activization stage. This is the last production stage of the lesson. Okay, I tell my students, okay, we have to save the princess, which is captured, which was, okay, Natalia, you can write to me, we'll discuss this question, or maybe at the end of the webinar, I'll answer this question, okay? The sound is bad. Is it better now? Lucy, is the sound better now? Okay, and so the princess is captured by a dragon, was kidnapped by a dragon, and is kept in a tower, and we have to save her. And we start walking along the road, and there are brick walls on both sides of the road, and we can see a pit. So what are you going to do? And students come up with ideas. What can you do? They can say, okay, let's jump over the pit. You see, and over, this is our active vocabulary. Then I take a dice. Usually I take a dice with 20 dice, and I throw these dice. And if it is 1, that means that the action was not successful. And the person who tried to jump over the pit, he falls into the pit. But if the dice shows like 15 or more, that means that the action was successful and the person could jump over the pit. And so this is the way it works. Well, students really love this type of games because it's like free speaking. It's real, it's authentic output. We all care about authentic input. And I think that role play games, it's the only variant of authentic output, because students start talking, they stop thinking about the way how to put it, they have a problem to solve, they have to save this person in the pit, so what can we do? Let's try to get him out of the pit. How are we going to do it? Okay, we don't have any ladders, maybe we can take off our clothes and make a rope, and let's try to take this person out of the pit with the help of the rope. And this is what they say, and I help them just to modify the situation, and they throw the dice to see whether the action is successful or not. So the plan for this lesson looked like this: pit with brick walls on both sides. Then they had to come up to the river, and there was a boat on the other side of the river, and there was a crocodile. So because I wanted them to produce language like to go across the river or to sail along the river, and then they come up to the tower with the gate which goes up and down, and they say, okay, let's try to go through the gate. And this is how it works. Well, actually, we've got a 2-day workshop where we explain how to work with role-play games. And if you attend our Trendy English Games conference, I'm going to give an hour-and-a-half workshop on role-play games. So it will be in the special section of workshops, and so actually we've got like 3 workshops in this section: Piotr Stepichev's workshop, my workshop on role-play games, and one more workshop which will be announced a little bit later. Okay. Well, actually, we can talk about games quite long, but we are running out of time. I invite all of you to come to our conference, Trendy English Games, which will be held on August the 27th and the 28th. You can go there and stay there only for 1 day. Natalia asks, yes, you can the first day is over at 6 o'clock, at 6 p.m. and you can usually you can use a local train to go back to Moscow. But for those who stays for the night, we are going to run a quest. in the forest, because, well, the purpose of this conference is to introduce and to show the participants all types of games, role-play games, board games, quests, and actually we are going to run a series of webinars next Sunday. Irina Mudritsina will be a speaker at the webinar about using games which we all know, and how to modify these games, and how to use one and the same game the whole year, and how to make students love it and not get tired of it. Okay, and in a week, Nastya Dashitsina and Lyudmila Gerasimov from Quest Case will have a webinar on creating quests for your groups, for your English lessons. And also, well, Quest Case, it's another organizer of Trendy English games, so StudyCraft and Quest Case. So we organize this conference together, and girls will give a workshop. We'll run a workshop during the conference, and they will show you everything connected with the quests. Okay, and if you are interested in games, you can come to my workshop in August. On August the 13th and the 14th, I got a 2-day workshop here in Moscow. How to gamify your English class. The registration is open. You can follow this link. I think there are still a few places available for this workshop. Okay, so you can join us. Our website studycraft.ru, and you can find us Vkontakte and on Facebook. So these are our groups, and please remember to have fun, because if you like games and if you really enjoy playing games, then your students will love these games as well. But if you don't really like games, maybe there are some other things which can help to motivate your students, because games, as I have already said, it's not the only possibility to lighten up your lessons and to motivate students. Okay, if you've got any questions, I am happy to answer them. You will all get the video of this webinar and all the links and materials by email. Which games can be used when we work with the students individually? Well, actually, the games like Lost Pets, Superheroes, the games which are talked about in the webinar, they can be used in individual, in one-to-one lessons as well. Okay, if there are no questions, so goodbye. How can I buy the game? Where can I buy them? So you can order them online at our website. Okay, I will give you a link. So this is the link to our website, and you can order the games. Well, actually, if you do have a lot of games instead of your course book. Well, I use ready-made games, and every time when I work with the course book, I try to look at this exercise and to think what kind of game activity, what kind of game or fun activity can I use instead of this course book, instead of this exercise. And you know, when you work with the group and when you play with this group a lot, you can't work with them without games anymore, because, well, they want more and more games. And when you start playing games with the group, like, there is no way back. Okay, Svetlana, I just invite you to my workshop in August the 13th and the 14th of August, and we'll discuss it all in detail. Okay, the workshop is in Moscow. It's a 2-day workshop, and at this workshop we will talk about, so this is the link. We will talk about what makes a real game and why teens very often refuse to play the games which we offer. So we will discuss what is a game and what is just an activity. We will try to transform some activities into games. Then we will have a block where we will discuss how to gamify your course book, how to transform every exercise into a game, and we will talk about gamification, which is not actually using games. It's about using adding gaming elements to our non-game context. So the price of the 9,050 500 rubles. So the price of the workshop. So the workshop costs 9,500 rubles. Okay, and so if you want to learn more about different types of games, then join our Trendy English Games conference. And I hope to see you all next Sunday. We will run a free webinar with Irina Mudritsina, who is also a game educator in StudyCraft, and she will talk about modifying well-known games and making them interesting for our teenage students. And as for Trendy English Online Summit, those who are part of this as part of this online summit. So next Wednesday we are having here Елена Sarnavskaya, who will tell us a lot of interesting things about using Cuisinart rods. I've already been to her workshop on this topic. It is really interesting and very, very useful for our work. So those who are taking part in Trendy English Online Summit, so see you on Wednesday with Елена Sarnavskaya. I work in private language school. I don't work in public school, and of course it makes my life much easier. Will there be any native speaker at Trendy English Games conference? I don't think so. I think we are going to have, because, well, I attend lots of conferences abroad, and the topic of games is not very popular in other countries at the moment, but we are going to have our annual Trendy English conference, which is not only about games, which is about all topics concerning methodology and running of a language school, and native speakers, they will be there. Okay, any more questions? Okay, thank you very much. So have a lovely Sunday and see you at Trendy English Games. Bye bye.